One of the biggest differences between these films is with its music. Yes, music is easily overlooked because it's so easily changed, but so much of the emotion of scenes rely on music.
Let's work it!
Horror movies especially use it to amplify suspense. Downhill uses it much in the same way. We get simple shots of B-roll accompanied with bright, airy music. It's simple and more than a little generic. Nothing to really write home about, but the real question we have to ask is, what kind of mindset does that put you in? It gives me the feeling of childlike optimism. It's a beautiful day, and everything is alright. It feels like it's trying to emphasize the family's excitement of being together in a beautiful place. Now watch the same type of scene in Force Majeure. It's starkly different. Instead of the airy and bright music, we have this hair-raisingly abrasive piece that immediately puts us on edge. What could be around the corner of this scenic landscape? What's coming for the family? This piece, ironically titled Vivaldi's Summer Concerto, makes all the difference to the film's atmosphere and overall tone. When using music, you have to consider not only the tone of the scene, but the film as a whole too, since both films are dry, awkward comedies about misunderstandings and skewed perspectives. I think the aggressive string music works much better for the film overall. Force Majeure knows that if it puts the audience on edge, it's much more likely to achieve the desired. Tone is basically how the director or writer wants the audience to feel, requiring an expert knowledge of the film inside and out to determine the best possible experience. Typically, when going into a movie, you have a generic idea of how it should feel. Horror movies, for example, attempt to make the audience feel uncomfortable. They use slow-building music, creeping camera work, moody lighting, and aggressive sound design to capture a tone of suspense. If you're on the edge of your seat, anticipating the next scare or the next reveal, the tone did its job. However, the tone of a horror film is much easier to accomplish than a dark comedy.
You're about the worst tourist in the whole world. Ken, I grew up in Dublin. I love Dublin. If I'd grown up on a farm and was retarded, Bruges might impress me, but I didn't, so it doesn't.
That is a tightrope walk that Downhill unfortunately falls and racks its nuts on nearly every possible moment. Given that it's a Will Ferrell movie, I wouldn't blame you for going into Downhill thinking that it might be like the other guys.
If I were a lion and you were a tuna, I would swim out in the middle of the ocean and freaking eat you! And then I'd bang your tuna girlfriend.
The problem is, Downhill is a much more complex film than something like The Other Guys is. And yet it's also far worse. In Downhill, you get these baffling scenes of terrible improv that lighten the tone for a brief second before immediately plunging back into a high-stakes family drama.
Enough to catch a dick whenever I like.
That's great.
When did they call, actually?
When?
Yeah,
When I was in the bathroom. You know Zach.
No, actually I don't. I don't know Zach, Pete. Not well.
Neither of which is given enough room to breathe, making this experience not only clunky, but difficult to understand what the point is. Is it a dumb Will Ferrell comedy where he makes a fool out of himself? Yes and no. Is it a dramatic family movie about two people trying to understand what happened to them? Yes and no, which is the ultimate problem with Downhill's tone. It doesn't do comedy or drama very well, so it ends up doing neither, and thus, really nothing.
And I really knew my way around. I mean, I did my fair share of...
I don't like to perform it.
I'm not that hungry.
Oh. Okay, did you already eat? Because I didn't eat to stay hungry, so I'm hungry.
All right.
Force Majeure balances this much better. Similar to Downhill, it's a dry, dark comedy. The big difference is that the humor isn't Eowyn saying she can get dick whenever she wants.
Enough to catch a dick whenever I like.
The comedy comes out of the drama. Since Force Majeure isn't actively trying to be funny like Downhill is, the tone is much more consistent, pulling the music out of the most awkward scenes to really allow that tension to fall like a bag of rocks on your head. The lighting is a little bit more realistic than Downhill and manages to not look like a TV sitcom. It's far more unsettling to watch because it feels more grounded. You know that many situations in this aren't funny because you've probably been in similar ones. But because you have, it's funny to see these helpless people flounder around like you did in those similar situations.
I think that you're the most good-looking man in this bar.
Okay, thank you.
I had to come back again.
Uh-huh.
You made a mistake. She didn't mean you. She meant someone else, my friend. She didn't mean you.
My friend?
Uh-huh.
Just wanted to say hi.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
She thinks she likes the way you carry yourself.
That's very kind. Man, I did not hate that. Oh, yeah. It's been a while. I used to be good at flirting, too.
Really?
I mean, really good.
Well, you have that energy.
Yeah?
Yeah, you
Still?
do.
Hi.
Oh,
Sorry.
hello. Hi.
It wasn't you.
Yeah, she's right. That guy is a catch.
What the hell?
One of the key points of the film is the father of this family, who is more than a little disconnected. At times, he struggles to connect to his family because his attention is often elsewhere. To show this, both films use his cell phone to show occasional disinterest. Not a bad idea.
Hashtag get better hashtags.
Everyone gets on their cell phones when they're a little bored or uninterested in what's happening around them. It's an easy and convenient way to essentially check out. However, it's this lack of subtlety and downhill that ultimately cripples this intention. There are so many scenes of Will Ferrell on his phone, it's like drinking rat poison while the movie tells you it's water. It's so obvious with its intention, it becomes obnoxious, pulverizing anyone that dared to think it would try at all. He's disconnected, get it?
Right.
Do
Hashtag stop wasting your time.
Right?
With hashtags.
Honey, can you get off your
Yeah,
phone
I'm all
now?
done. I'm all done.
Good. Okay. Let's just be here, okay?
On the other hand, Force Majeure uses the phone as a complete disruptor rather than a piece of crap, whatever shit-stained scene ruiner. This scene with the entire family in bed is such a standout moment. Not only to show that while they might be having issues, they're still a family that loves each other. They're all in bed together, taking a nap after a long day, but they are rudely interrupted and awakened by his phone, pointing out how distracting and disruptive a phone can be while also proving that the husband can be easily distracted from what is important. A simple buzz can ruin a tender moment and turn you into the villain. Not permanently, but it certainly damages your reputation more than Will Ferrell just standing in the lobby. Both serve a similar purpose, but only one nails the feeling of moments being ruined by cell phones.
Hashtag get better hashtags.
Where the two films really differ is in their writing of the mom character. Downhill attempts to do something incredibly ambitious by turning the film into a coming-of-age story for the mother, but attempts to have her grow from a subservient mom of two into a strong, independent woman who only occasionally needs her man. The big difference between these two films is that Force Majeure isn't about any one person who needs to find themselves by making out with a ski instructor. It's about the family as a whole and the gender roles inside of the family, instead of a generic coming-of-age story that wrongly assumes we will like a woman who cheats on her husband and acts like a 4-year-old.
I apologize if...
Do not apologize. I did exactly what I wanted to do.
It takes so much more restraint to have a scene where this mom character goes off by herself and doesn't do much, and far easier to have a terribly forced subplot with this ski instructor guy. It takes so much more subtlety to have a scene like this than a scene like this.
Just to be clear, I could fuck you right through that wall right now if I wanted.
This brings us to the key moment of both films, when our happy family nearly gets caught in an avalanche, or so they think. A terrifying idea that challenges your concept of fight or flight. As you can see, Downhill edits this scene in a fairly common way, cutting between people reacting to this approaching perceived threat. Slowly, panic sets in, and the editing gets quicker and quicker, highlighting the panic in all the people by cutting to them. A bit trite, but not bad. Now let's watch how Force Majeure handles it. It does it all in this one take, sitting behind the characters as the avalanche slowly approaches. It's significantly different from Downhill, which begs the question, why do this? While Downhill does the job by using modern, conventional cutting habits to highlight the panic of the scene, Force Majeure challenges the audience by changing the way you'd expect it to be shot and edited, creating this sense of unease by holding and holding and holding. Downhill asks nothing from you by spoon-feeding the audience. It shows the panic, putting the family of 3 on one side of the table after the event, and then making Will Ferrell's every move look stupid. It's painting by numbers. It forces the audience to recognize that he did a bad thing by giving you a close-up of him grabbing his phone and leaving. In this one lockdown shot, it's actively hard to tell what's happening, which should be the point. Later in the movie, his wife says that he grabbed his phone, and you can kind of see it if you know what to look for, but it's hard to tell, and you would probably miss it on a first watch, making this pivotal moment more up to interpretation, just as the rest of the film is. The entire argument of the movie is between husband and wife on their own interpretation of events.
He got so scared that he ran away from the table.
What? No, I did not. No.
Come on.
No. I did
He ran
not.
away from the table.
Something that Downhill utterly robs you of when it clearly shows the series of events the wife retells.
What they saw was...
Scary for them. Absolutely.
Yes.
But we're here, and they're upstairs watching a movie?
Doing this automatically puts her above her dumbass of a husband, who you can't help but dislike because of this, supposedly justifying all of the horrible stuff his wife does because he was an asshole. And it doesn't stop here.
As far as you and I are concerned, if you don't like the way that I look at you, then show me something different.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus tells Will Ferrell that, in order to win her trust again, he needs to put in more effort. Shortly after, some snow falls and nearly hits Julia before Ferrell pushes her out of the way. At least that's what I think what happened. The editing is in fact the worst thing I've ever seen, and it's difficult to actually see what happened. It cuts too quickly and to terrible angles, leading to this baffling ending to this uncalled for film. Sure, it served its purpose. Will Ferrell became more of a man, I guess, and Julia became more independent, I guess, but compare that to this.
Open the doors, please. I want to get out of here. Open the doors.
Downhill's ending is disturbingly cliche, while Force Majeures asks serious questions about gender roles and how men are judged by their actions, but women frequently aren't. Now, obviously, men and women are vastly different creatures with different expectations, and this film gracefully explores that duality without being cringe, simply pointing out double standards of both genders that are frequently there. The entire point of Force Majeure is summed up perfectly in this bus scene. We've just experienced 2 hours of bickering over what two people think happened, ultimately wearing down the husband to the point of a complete breakdown.
Mama!
Generally, men are expected to be brave, money-getters of a family, and he legitimately can't handle being seen as a person that ran away from danger, even if it was his natural, unconscious response. All he had to do was own up to it and admit, yeah, that was on me, oh, my fault, I didn't mean to, it just kind of happened, or make light of it at least, and maybe it would have all blown over. But he just couldn't handle it because of his gender roles.
He got so scared that he ran away from the table.
Something his wife simply can't let go of because she feels nervous about what she thinks was a change in character from the man she knew. Would he run away from her at different points, at more intense, dangerous moments? Who knows now? Only to have her rally everyone off a bus that she thinks is in danger. Not the same, but similar to her husband running from a potential avalanche. But because she's a woman, she's let off the hook much easier. Her husband, and really no one else, presses her, which allows her husband to respond by taking control and showing the brave man she thought he was.